What's going on, y'all? Brother Shay here, New Orleans Revival Center, Restoration Embassy, Ambassadors for Christ. Make sure to please follow us on Facebook if you get the chance so that we could go live for our Sunday services and Wednesday Bible studies. But today we're here to add another volume to our Christian Apologetics series. And our topic today is, was Nehemiah just a politician? Rebuilding walls or building God's purpose? One criticism often raised against the book of Nehemiah is that his rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls was political and self-serving, that Nehemiah was more of a government official protecting his interest rather than a spiritual leader serving God. At first glance, the criticism sounds reasonable to some, but Nehemiah was the cupbearer to the Persian king, a trusted political position. He received royal permission, military protection, and resources to rebuild the wall. So critics argue this was simply imperial politics, stabilizing a region for Persia's benefit, and Nehemiah was acting as a loyal bureaucrat. But this argument ignores what the text actually emphasizes. Some things people say you just could tell that they just hate God. You know what I mean? Before Nehemiah ever speaks to the king, he prays. For an entire chapter, Nehemiah fasts, weeps, confesses Israel's sins, and appeals to God's covenant promises. His motivation is not power or prestige, it's grief over God's city lying in disgrace. When Nehemiah arrives in Jerusalem, he doesn't campaign, posture, or announce authority. He inspects the ruins quietly at night. He then calls the people not to political loyalty, but to spiritual identity. Come, let us rebuild the wall so that we will no longer be a disgrace. Nehemiah consistently frames the work as God's work. He says, the hand of my God had been upon me. When opposition arises, he doesn't negotiate power. He prays, fasts, and stations people with weapons while reminding them our God will fight for us. Even more telling, Nehemiah refuses personal gain. As governor, he rejects the food allowance and heavy taxation that his predecessors enjoyed, so he would not burden the people. That is the opposite of self-serving leadership. So yes, Nehemiah was a political leader, but he was first a covenant servant. In scripture, spiritual leadership often works through political roles. We saw Joseph in Egypt, Daniel in Babylon, Esther in Persia. God uses positions of influence to accomplish redemptive purposes. Nehemiah's wall wasn't about personal legacy. It was about restoring worship, security, and obedience to God's law. The book doesn't end with Nehemiah's fame. It ends with a covenant renewal and prayer. So Nehemiah wasn't building an empire. He was rebuilding the people.